Hey everyone, so today we're going to be looking at the ignition system and removing that on our Briggs & Stratton engine. So as we know, the ignition system is designed to create a spark when the engine is originally starting up. So when we started our engines back a little while ago, our ignition system is what made that spark, and it's thanks to the flywheel and what we have going on here. So we're going to remove the systems here today, the ignition system here today, but we'll need a few tools to get started. First, we're going to need an air wrench with a 30 millimeter socket attached to it. We'll get to that a little bit later. Then we'll need the flywheel remover tool. We'll need a nut driver equipped with a 10 millimeter socket along with a 9/32 socket to remove our armature screws over there. So to get started here, we're going to be breaking this down to a few basic steps. So first we're going to have to remove our shroud and our flywheel cover. Then we'll have to remove our flywheel nut and our flywheel cup, otherwise known as the starter cup. And finally, we'll take off our flywheel with the flywheel remover tool. So to get started, we're going to have our nut driver here, and I have this on 10 millimeter, as you can see. And you're going to see that there are 3 screws located on our flywheel cover. One's going to be up here, another is going to be over here, and the other is going to be over here. So we're basically going to remove those 3 using our socket or our nut driver. Just fell off. Okay. So we already kind of pre-unscrewed some of these just to make this go a little bit faster, but once you get to a certain stage, just take them out with your hand. It's easier for you. Okay. And you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping your, You're going to want to make sure that you're keeping your, screws all together. So this is going to remove our flywheel cover, and this is the rewind starter assembly and the shroud which we have here. Okay, so you're going to want to keep that away from your engine, and we have our 3 little screws that I took out. Put that in a bag. Best practice, zip that up, and it's good to go. Okay, I'm going to label this ignition, flywheel, and cover. Okay. So this is going to reveal your starter cup or your flywheel cup, whichever you want to refer to as, totally fine, and your nut, and then inside here we have our actual flywheel. So now we are ready to remove our starter cup or our flywheel cup, whichever you want to refer to it as. So to do this, we're going to need our air wrench, or some people call it a pneumatic ratchet, but you're going to have to go over to this part of the shop, as you can see by the demo table, in order to do this, and you'll have this green air hose, and you're going to attach that to your wrench. Okay, so how this is going to work is you're going to want to press it firmly against your stomach and hold down this clamp that you have on the green hose, and just firmly press it into there. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and look at our cup, or our what way we're traveling here. So obviously we're in the disassembly process, so we want our socket to be moving to the left because righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay, so right now we are moving in the correct location. Okay, we're going to the left, so we're loosening it up. But if you're moving this way to the right, you're going to want to change it down here. So you'll see that there's a little bit of a silver metal knob. Put it back if you want it to go to the left, put it forward if you want to go tighten to the right, okay? But since we are loosening, we'll go to the left. Then what you'll do is you'll go on into the center here of your starter cup, and you're just going to give it a quick little press, okay? Oh, got it. There we go. Okay, so then you can just take off the flywheel cup or the starter cup just like that, and then you are done with this step. And you'll also notice too that this nut is going to come off during this process. You might have to pull it out with your hand, or it might, like with me, I pressed it hard enough so it came out, it was right in the socket, but you're going to have this nut, and that's going to be associated with the flywheel cup. So you're going to want to make sure that these 2 pieces stay together for the rest of this module. So now we're getting to the part of our disassembly process where we're ready to remove our flywheel fin. So we know that the flywheel has a lot of different functions. One of them is to provide a magnetic force for the engine, and also to give the engine some weight. So you'll notice that once we get the whole flywheel off, the engine's going to be much lighter. But also it's to cool the ignition system, and that's what these fins are designed to do. So this step of the process is going to allow us to remove the flywheel fin. So to get started, we're going to have to grab our ratchet and our extension, and then our 1/2-inch socket. So what you're going to do is go over here, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and simply remove your couple screws that you have here. Once they get loose enough, again, you can just take them out with your hands if you'd like. So there's one of them. And then here's the other one. So we have those 2 screws that are ready to go, and we've removed our plastic flywheel fins. So again, there's several fins that are located along the side, and it's all made out of plastic just to provide cooling to our ignition system and our flywheel unit as a whole. So before you get started on this next step, it's an appropriate time to take out your cell phone here and take some pictures. So the first thing I want you to take a picture of is just the flywheel as a whole, what we have remaining here. But then we have our kill switch cord right here. It's this black little wire that we see. You're going to want to take several pictures of that and how it's being fed through, okay? If you don't know what this is, just call me over and I'd be glad to help you out. And then what you're going to do basically, after you've gotten as many pictures as you think is appropriate, is feed this wire through these couple of holes that we have, because this will go with our ignition system when we're taking it out, okay? So now what we're going to do, now that we've taken pictures of the kill switch wire and removed that, we are going to take out our armature and our coil. So how that's going to work is we're going to grab our 3 30-seconds and we don't necessarily need our extension, but it's on here right now, so I'm just going to have it. And we're just going to remove these couple of screws. And once they're loose enough, again, you can probably just take them off with your hand. Be very careful too, because you're going to notice that the flywheel, as I mentioned previously, is magnetic, so things might want to stick a little bit. And there's one. Here's the other. So this is basically what you will end up with. You're going to have that wire, your armature, and your coil, and then you're going to have your 2 screws that are left over. Then you'll want to put those in a Ziploc baggie, and we'll go from there. So now you're ready to remove the actual meat and potatoes of your flywheel, where all that weight is coming from. So you're going to first bring out your flywheel nut that you just removed a little while ago. You're going to screw that on here just a little bit so it's level. So the top of this washer is level with the end of your crankshaft. And then you're going to grab the flywheel remover tool that we mentioned a little while ago. It looks like this, okay? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to see that there are 2 holes or bores that are present. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to kind of screw these in equally. So you're going to kind of rotate both of them righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, the same rate, just to make sure it's getting on their level, and you're going to keep screwing in until you can't screw it in any further. You'll know when that is. Okay. Good. So then what you'll want to do to remove the actual flywheel is we have a nice little block, and you can go over by the welding equipment and grab one of these blocks that we have over there for cleaning our oxyacetylene torches, and you're going to place that underneath this little nub that you see over here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab a partner and have them stand and hold and have their weight hold on top of the engine as you start to remove your flywheel. So for removing this guy, you're going to want to grab a 3/8 ratchet with the 12mm. The reason you're getting a 3/8 ratchet is just to provide a little bit more oomph or support as you're taking off, because your normal ratchet that we use isn't going to be enough, not going to be strong enough. So what you're going to do is you're going to start to tighten here, and you're going to want to do it equally. So do 1 rotation, back and forth. Okay, and then at one point your flywheel is actually going to come off, And that happened pretty quick for us. And what you're going to do is just take off this Flywheel Remover tool.
Other direction.
Right, yep, there we go. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. And notice how we had that nice little pop sound. When you hear that pop, you know that it's done and the flywheel has been removed. So, okay, make sure that everything stays together here. We don't want any of these washers or screws falling out. Okay, perfect. Then you'll take out your flywheel. First, you're going to take off your, and put that back with your flywheel cup. And you can just remove your flywheel, and there you have it. This is the flywheel. This is what creates all of that weight. You'll notice that it's also magnetic, as we talked about. So kind of set that aside by your flywheel fin. So I'm putting this together. And that's what your engine should look like at this point. So in this video, we successfully removed our flywheel fins. We removed our flywheel or starter cup assembly. We also took off our flywheel and our armature. So we got a lot accomplished here. Next up, we're going to be looking at our valves and compression system. A couple of miscellaneous items to look at. So with our flywheel remover tool, that looks like this, remember, you're going to want to grab these nuts and you're going to want to put them on the ends of your flywheel remover tool just to make sure that it's not coming apart, so that way it's all stable. Okay, and then when you're done using it, we want to make sure that it returns to this teal toolbox that we have here where all of our tools came from. So set that in there for next semester's crew to use. Another thing that I wanted to mention here today is that we have this item on our crankshaft known as a flywheel key. Looks like this. It's this little small thing. It's made out of aluminum, okay? And the reason it's made out of aluminum is because if something were to happen when we're mowing the line or operating our small gas engine and something were to happen to this little piece that's made out of aluminum, it's only about $1, whereas if it was made out of steel or some other material, it could damage or harm the entire engine and we'd have to replace a lot of different parts. That could cost us hundreds of dollars. So we're putting this in our baggies. We want to put this with the flywheel cup because when we are reinstalling the engine or reassembling the engine, we are going to place that on when we're putting our flywheel cup back together. And the last thing I wanted to mention is I know we walked through a lot of things in this video. This user's manual, this repair manual that we have here is going to do a really nice job of giving you a step-by-step diagram of how to take apart this section of the engine. If you just turn to pages 73 and 74, it has some helpful diagrams that may be able to assist you. And of course, you're always able to call me over and I can help you out too.